So that's the opening of the Romance from Mozart's D minor piano concerto, the great number 20. And that will be the second half of my first concert as associate artist with the RTE National Symphony Orchestra on November the 5th. And in that concert, I'm going to present 3 different piano concertos by Mozart, part of my performance of all 23 of his concertos with the orchestra over the next 3 years, next 3 seasons. We're very much used to seeing a piano playing with the pianist playing the concerto and the conductor and the orchestra. However, in this case, there won't be any conductor operating in between. I will be directing the music from the keyboard. I'll be setting them off. I'll be setting the tempos. I'll be rehearsing with the musicians together with them, getting their ideas, their input. It'll be a very much two-way process because really these concertos are chamber music on a large scale. It's about everybody exchanging ideas and thoughts and interpretations. And I think, and in fact, this is how Mozart himself would have done them. This is a very authentic way to present them. Back in Mozart's day, there was no such thing as a standalone conductor. He would never have thought about engaging a conductor. He himself would have not only performed, but also directed the concertos from the keyboard. So I'm really just going back to the roots of the music. And really what I'm trying to do is present this music in the most fresh and personal way, my own personal responses to the music, to what it says to me, to the images it conjures up in my own head. And for the opening concert, I've chosen 3 wonderfully diverse concertos, huge contrast, magical, fabulous music. I don't think anybody could wish for nicer music for a concert. It's slightly different to your average concert because, of course, we're used to having perhaps an overture from the orchestra and then maybe a concerto with a soloist, and then in the second half, a symphony. Here we'll have 3 different Mozart piano concertos, but as I say, greatly diverse and with great variety. So that's the slow movement of the D minor. Of course, the D minor opens in the first movement with a scene of great darkness, great foreboding. It's very ominous. It seems to tell of some great tragedy. It starts very, very soft with murmuring strings and the melody right down in the bottom of the orchestra in the cellos and double basses. Sense that something is afoot, something is not quite right here. And gradually it gets more and more dark and foreboding and builds up in the orchestra. There's a big crescendo with the wind coming in with their commentaries, and gradually it all builds up. And finally it sort of explodes like a thunderbolt from the blue with the full orchestra coming out with this great big crash. Then it seems to resign itself to its fate. Of course, the minor key was always a thing of great significance to Mozart. He didn't tend to write very many works in a minor key. There are only 2 piano concertos in the minor key, and D minor in particular, I think, was associated with great tragedy and darkness in his mind. And then in the first half, we have 2 other masterpieces in their own way. We start with the E-flat concerto, what's called the Jeune Homme, written as it was for Mademoiselle Jeune Homme, a young French pianist who Mozart encountered, and she had great fingers, and he wrote this virtuosic piece for her. And right from the get-go, it's quite a fresh sounding. It must have sounded quite unusual to the audience of its day, because it begins with this dialogue between the orchestra and the soloist. We're used to hearing a long introduction from the orchestra and then the soloist entering, but here the soloist comes in almost immediately with an answer, sort of a cheeky answer to the orchestra's, what might be seen as sort of a hunting call from the orchestra. Orchestra, soloist. And it's a wonderful, rich work. It has a very dark, very tragic, slow movement in C minor, and then it has a fabulously witty and virtuosic and very fingery finale, requiring great fleet fingers and skilled virtuosity. It's a very small orchestra, just strings and 2 oboes and 2 horns. but it manages it's certainly one of Mozart's great early masterpieces when we think what an early work it is. And then between these two great concertos is a slighter piece, but no less wonderful for that. It's a very elegant piece. It's the little A major, K414. And in fact, it's a piece I've been playing since I was about 10. I remember it was one of the first concertos I learnt, and I remember doing it in the Feis Matthew and in the Feis Ceol, and playing it with the second piano with my sister. And it's a piece I've come back to many, many times. And so I particularly chose it to go into this first concert of my cycle of concertos with the orchestra. It's a wonderfully elegant, very galant style concerto, extremely well behaved. It doesn't break any rules. It's very rounded at the edges, and it's perfect in every way. It's the first phrase says it all, really. It's just so elegant. And the second phrase. And the second movement then has an air of slight wistfulness. It's not real tragedy. It's slightly dark. It's in D major, but it's a lovely, gentle, chorale-like melody. And the last movement is so extremely skittish and joyous and so beautiful that it really makes people laugh, I think. And later on there's a dialogue with the violas. It's amazing how Mozart can take such a simple melody, and yet it's so incredibly amusing and so charming and so attractive. He seems to be able to take those simplest lines and notes and sequence of notes, and yet it becomes something quite miraculous in his hands. And still fresh to this day, the freshness of this music, I think it has instant appeal and it has constant appeal. I think the Mozart piano concertos will always be in fashion, whatever else comes in and out of fashion. So I'm really looking forward to this journey with the National Symphony Orchestra. It's first ever position associate artist. It's a whole new journey for me, for the musicians, something I'm really looking forward to. I think we'll all benefit hugely from it. Also hugely interesting for the audience, I think, to see this relationship develop, as it were, between me and the members of the orchestra. It's the first time that they'll really have this opportunity to engage with somebody so deeply, and I must say I'm hugely excited by the prospect.